Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
Break free from the forces holding you back. Get the life you deserve. Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, decrease depression, and start living your full potential. Thousands have used Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory, an evidence-based behavioral health breakthrough with incredible life-changing results. Getting rid of past trauma, having fulfilling relationships, increasing earnings, and living their best life. Now, the Foojan app is available to everyone. The app is Dr. Foojan Zeine's awareness integration theory in the palm of your hand. Download the Foojan app today.
Do you wish to wake up one day and hit the Life Reset button? Life Reset, the awareness integration path to create the life you want by Dr. Foojan Zeine, helps you navigate crucial life areas, heal the past traumas, and cultivate fulfilling relationships and careers. Life Reset is your guide to a profound journey to reshape your life. Grab your copy on Amazon or Audible now and embark on a path to a more joyous and fulfilled life.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a Heartfelt Chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zeine, a psychotherapist, an author, and the creator of the Awareness Integration Theory. I'm thrilled to have you join me today for what promises to be an insightful discussion. It was really an insightful discussion for me, and I learned a lot, and I hope all of you will as well. In this episode, I chat with Sue Van Raes. She is a functional nutritionist. She's a food psychology specialist and wellness expert. She's a yoga instructor and founder of Boulder Nutrition. She has extensive experience in a featured health writer for the Chopra Center, Deepak Chopra, the Chopra Center. And her work has been featured in People magazine, The Sacred Science, Natural Solution magazine, Origin magazine, and Elephant Journal. Van Raes hosts the podcast Satiate, and leads a wellness and yoga retreats in Colorado, Costa Rica, Bali, and virtual. She lives in Boulder, Colorado, and you can definitely find her at bouldernutrition.com. I was reading her book, and we're going to talk about her book today. It was interesting because I got a lot of insight about how we connect with our body and how we don't connect with our body, and how that relates to the type of food we eat, the way that we eat food, how it kind of starts covering our emotion, and somehow we're just not true to reality of what's going on. So there's a lot of insight for me, and I hope that as we talk about it, it creates a lot of insight for you. Her book is amazing, so I really request for all of you that if this is some of your interest, to really definitely get her book. Her book is Food and Freedom: Discover Your Personal Recipe to Eat, Think, and Live Well. We talk about it, and I hope that you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. Now, be sure to subscribe to my podcast and my YouTube channel. So you'll have, all the guests, everything that goes on, all the shows that I have, or lectures that I have across the world, internationally. I put it on my YouTube channel, so you get to have it. So please connect and subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my podcast, connect with me through my website, foojanzeine.com, and any of my social media, right? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of those. Share your thoughts with me. I'm opening up Ask Me questions so that I can have a lot of people ask me on a random basis. So I want to bring that back to, short clips for you guys, and any type of psychological questions that you have. And I'll either answer them myself if it's part of my expertise, or I will bring an expert to be able to share their view on all the questions that you have. Remember to go to Foojan app. You can get the whole process of the guided journaling and the way that you could actually work with yourself through the Foojan app, through the awareness integration process. And just go to Foojan app. You can go to Foojan.com or Foojan app and really become aware of who you are and gain insight. And after that, gain skills. And if you've got to clear some of the stuff, guess what? There's protocol for you to do that all by yourself. And if you also want therapists or coaches that are specialize in this, then you can have access to those too. So without further ado, here's Sue Van Raes.
Intentional Parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, written by Dr. Jafari, Dr. Foojan Zeine, and Dr. Manoukian, 3 experts in human development, is your step-by-step guide to raising a healthy child prepared for a culturally integrated world. You're supported in parenting infants to adolescents using the latest evidence-based scientific research on parenting. Order your copy on Amazon now.
Eliminate stress, reduce anxiety, and decrease depression. Dr. Foojan Zaine's awareness integration theory has helped thousands like you get incredible life-changing results. The Foojan app gives you her evidence-based treatment in the palm of your hand. Download today.
It is so nice to have you, everyone. Sue Van Raes with us, the author of Food and Freedom, Discover Your Personal Recipe to Eat, Think, and Live Well. Oh, I need you so much, Sue. We're going to be talking half of the time probably about me, but no, what everybody wants to know and the questions that we all have. But before that, I want to say hello and see what got you to want to write about this.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited for our conversation, and it's great to be here. And what a great question to start with. You know, my work for the past 2 decades has been in the space of primarily women and food. And it's really led me on quite a journey, both in my research and also internally within my own life and my own relationship to food. And, you know, sometimes we just get that creative spark or that really strong yearning to make that into an offering that could help a lot of people. And I find that what I've seen out in the world as far as other resources for supporting our relationship with food, but not only relationship to food, but also from a place that is metabolically sound and physically informative as well. I just haven't come across anything like that in what I've, looked into in my own reading and in my own research. So I really wanted to kind of share my protocol and the way that I work with folks because I've seen such profound results. And as we know, our relationship with food is very diverse, but it also goes beyond food itself. And I think it's an important conversation for us to be having with ourselves and with each other.
Absolutely. I know that obviously this is one of the most important factors in our life, right? For example, it's our nutrition, what gives us energy, it gives us our livelihood. And it is so also close to our emotions and how we handle that. And you brought both of these concepts beautifully into your book. My work is all about awareness. I created awareness integration therapy, so it's all about awareness. And one of the beautiful concepts of your book is bringing to the awareness that I was sharing with you when I started reading it. I started becoming aware, very interestingly, that, you say, bring your body to the table, like to when you're eating, bring your body with you. And I just realized this as I was reading, is like, I don't bring my body, I just bring my taste buds. And therefore, because I only bring my taste buds, it's almost, sometimes I say, I'm like a fish. I don't know when I should stop until my belly hurts and says stop. Versus, as you were sharing in your book, it's like there's so many little sensations that your body's communicating with you. And if you're not noticing, if you haven't brought the whole body into the system, you're not aware of it, you miss these cues. And then obviously we have circumstances that are not well, at least for me, which has caused me to, gain 25 pounds, lose it, gain, and you go through this yo-yo. But it was beautiful in not only the way you explain it, but to become aware of those little sensations that you're constantly, your body's communicating with you. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. I love talking about this. It's really a topic that really lights me up because once we start to notice these little sensations, they just get louder and louder. And they really become like the North Star in so many things that we do, especially our eating. And as I personally have been practicing this for, over a decade, this particular part of my work has really sort of grown into an entire body of work that has really transformed so many people's perspective on listening to the body. I don't think we often quite understand what it means to be in our body or to be embodied. It's a catchphrase that's very much kind of tossed around without a lot of information to anchor it. And I find that this particular way of being with sensation, which I like to call the sacred language of our bodies, is really what it means to be in our body or to be embodied. And we can do that in any area of our life, including mealtime. And when we do, the information that is so rich and so informative and so attuned to the present moment, because that's where sensations live, we automatically become more connected to ourselves. We automatically create a deeper mind-body connection. We automatically become more embodied by simply practicing watching, listening, and then taking cue from our physical sensations. When we are kind of in our heads, which a lot of us are throughout the days, like rushing, thinking, getting our to-do list done, trying to get everything done on a kind of fast and furious pace, it doesn't necessarily create a conducive environment for listening to physical sensation. So this turns the tables a little bit to something that we can really use and that is very concrete. It's very much happening all the time. We just need to be focused on listening and sort of attune our listening to become even more and more in depth with what's happening in real time.
It reminded me of a lot of the parenting concepts where the children say, I'm not going to do anything until my mother yells at me. Like, so you've said, it's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Until like, as the suddenly gets up. And I've talked to children and they're like, oh, I know, I don't have to do it until she yells at me. And it just dawned on me. It's almost like the message keeps coming and we're not listening until it yells at us with pain, with, consequences, negative consequences that we don't want. And that's when we kind of start looking at our body, when it's giving you pain. Instead of it before pain, it's been trying to communicate so much. When are you hungry? And when is it time that you need to eat? And you talk beautifully in your book about, is this really the hunger, or is this other emotions trying to show up as hunger and is asking you to do something? And then you go into, you're going into feeding it instead of taking care of it, taking care of the emotion. While when, on the other hand, it's telling you, I need to stop. Like, I'm done. Like, I got it. I got what I need to do. And beyond this, I don't really need it. That we don't listen to it, and we keep eating some of the food, even if it's good food. But if your body is full, it doesn't need anymore, still going to have a negative consequences. So part of what your work is bringing you to that concept of awareness, and you have actual systematic like homework to sit down, look at it, write down to what it is that your body is telling you, and becoming more mindful when you are with food, right?
Absolutely. And I loved how you started this, because there's an ancient Cherokee proverb that I really love, which goes like this. If you listen to her whisper, you never have to hear her scream. And I think most of us have been waiting to hear the scream because we are not tuning into the whisper. And our bodies are so wise. We know what we need. And if we turn to that inner wisdom through the language of our bodies, which is through the senses, through sensation, then we have all of this information right there. But our conditioning and our culture and our society has been teaching us and telling us that we need to look outside of ourselves for all the answers. And that's just not correct, right? We can, if we get stuck in like counting calories, for example, or weighing ourselves all the time, for example, or trying all these different food styles that are coming from the outside, following the tracker on our phones and all of those things. And I love tracking and I love data, but I also believe that if we externalize over and over and over how we're living our lives and how we're showing up with our relationship to food, then we're really missing this incredible gem that is listening inward, that is the wisdom of our bodies, the organic intelligence. It's very primal. All animal beings have this innate intelligence. We've just become the only species who has really gotten so far and so disconnected from it, but it's still there and we can return to it anytime.
I know that through the years, obviously I've looked at a lot of diets and, how to eat and what's the right way to eat and what is the latest research to eat. But this other piece, as you were sharing, has come up for me, although because of my body screaming at times, but it got to me where I could see where the effect of a food was, or effect of like a medicine was, right? Like I would take, I had a flu and I was taking Mucinex or something, NyQuil or something. And I would watch my body, although it took care of that symptomology, but I watched my body go through some ups and downs the next couple of days. Or I would eat a particular cheese and my brain would go into a fog. And it would, it would hold that piece of, this just didn't sit well with me. I remember one time I went to a friend's house and I had, glass of wine that she had ordered. And the next day I woke up and without any reason, I was just crying. I was like, my mood had changed so much. And I started noticing how some food or drink or medicine or something that I was, putting in my mouth and taking it in was having a direct effect on the biochemistry, obviously, of my body. And then, will it give me energy and have me uphold that energy and feel great? Or was it affecting me to a place of being down and not wanting those? And the awareness of that has helped me a lot with this concept of knowing what I should eat and what I shouldn't. I still have not particularly gotten the concept of my taste buds still rules on all the different levels. So that, with your book, I'm going to start looking at, the other cues that are there. But you also talk about getting to know your metabolic concept. What is it that fits for you? That although there's a lot of research out there, but what fits for you?
Exactly. Yes. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because I do want to say that while we're listening to sensations, while we're getting more attuned to our real-time experience of eating, we, of course, benefit from information, data, and knowledge that comes from science. And one of the foundational aspects of my work is blood sugar and metabolic health, because when we are in balance biochemically, we feel better. And our energy's more even throughout the day. Our cravings are more manageable. Our brain and focus is much better when we're trying to be productive. Our mood is enhanced. We feel much happier and much more at peace. We notice our body composition come back to its ideal place much more readily. And this is super important because as we understand how our bodies are metabolizing food and converting, the food that we're eating into energy, food being the building blocks for energy, it is so important that we understand like how that works for us, which might be very different than how that works for someone else. And what we need to feel our best might be very different than even our sister or even our mother or even our best friend. And so kind of being the detective in our bodies and learning how to create stability in our blood sugar and learning how to set up basically our macronutrients in a way that support our constitution is a game changer, because then when everything is fairly set and stable biochemically, then all the other things that we need to do around food and around life, which sometimes lead us to using food as comfort or as a self-soothing mechanism, everything is going to work so much better. And we will find that we are much more emotionally resilient. We will find that when it comes to like some of those old triggers that food might bring up for us, that we're going to have so much more inner strength around what's our best next move. When we're biochemically out of balance, it's just really hard to feel our best. And when we're not feeling our best, as we know, we sometimes go down those roads that lead us astray with our eating that can be quite concerning. So I always say biochemistry first, metabolic health first, and then we build from there. And that's, one of the things that I really stand by in my work.
And you share like simple ways in how to balance your blood sugar. Can you share a little bit with us?
Absolutely. So in my protocol, blood sugar foundation is so important. And it's really a meal by meal strategy, because our blood sugar is happening meal by meal. Like we can't tell our blood sugar that we're going to protein load 7 hours from now. So no need to panic, because our blood sugar and our insulin levels are just going to do whatever they're doing in response to whatever we've most recently eaten. So insulin, being the mother hormone, is really kind of creating the domino effect within our biochemistry when it comes to food. So the most important things to kind of keep it simple are to ensure that you're getting good quality protein at every meal, whether it's plant-based or animal-based, that's your choice, but finding a high amount of good quality protein at every meal, ensuring that you're getting high quality fat found in nature at every meal, ensuring that you're getting whole carbohydrates that are free from a lot of processing, because that's going to keep them supporting your blood sugar going forward. The more refined carbohydrates are going to start to create more of a blood sugar spike and crash. And then, of course, ensuring that you're getting lots of good, healthy vegetables. Non-starchy vegetables fall into what I call the micronutrient category versus something like a sweet potato, which goes into the whole carbohydrate category. If you can get all 4 of those components at your meals, the vegetables and the fruits and all those really high fiber foods are going to be super supportive of your blood sugar as well. Protein and fat both elongate your blood sugar curve and keep you stable longer and also satiated longer. That is like such a great foundational step. When you do that, you'll know. I have people who notice within a few days that they're feeling so much better and that they can handle more and that they're showing up to their lives in so much more of an impactful and productive way. So yeah, give that a try and just imagine keeping your blood sugar in a healthy range meal by meal, and you'll start to see some really beautiful outcomes.
Food and freedom, everyone. Discover your personal recipe to eat, think, and live well by Sue Van Raes. Sue, I remember actually I was talking to a physician and he was telling me that usually people think like if they eat oranges, it's full of, they're going to have a sugar hike or a blood glucose cut. And he found out that green apple for his body was actually shooting up the insulin versus like oranges for him. So again, we get a lot of research about all of these things out there, but monitoring yourself and really getting to know what happens in your body is really the key. The next one, which is my favorite topic, is what do we eat that boosts the oxytocin and more pleasure in our body? Because obviously, as I said, I'm hooked to my taste buds and creating pleasure, but sometimes my taste buds gets me to get pain.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to say that oxytocin is an incredible hormone to focus on because the studies actually show that more oxytocin lowers blood sugar. So it's actually working to our favor within the, the different things that are happening, whereas cortisol and adrenaline are going to be more dysregulating to our blood sugar. Oxytocin is really going to help things to come back into balance. So there's lots of foods and lots of activities that you can do to sort of set yourself up for success. But I think it's really important to note that pleasure is really the number one place to start, because pleasure, if you're enjoying your meal, if you're giving yourself permission to really savor your food and to really show up and like take in the scent, take in the way the food is plated, enjoy the different textures and flavors on your tongue, right there, you're really elevating your oxytocin and creating a much more mindful experience of eating. And right there, you're also lowering your blood sugar. So there's a lot of really simple foods that you can include in your diet to boost oxytocin. Of course, probably the number one that most people talk about is high quality dark chocolate. But, nuts and seeds are great, and good quality protein is great. All of these are something that you can just simply add in without too much strife and with pretty simple ways of managing that. So, but I also think that the company that you keep and the environment in which you are eating food and sitting around the table, and the ways in which that you are bringing your full self to the table, you're going to be able to notice a boost in oxytocin there as well. So some other foods you might consider trying: avocados boost oxytocin, salmon boosts oxytocin, egg yolks boost oxytocin, spinach, green tea, nuts, and many different fruits. So there's a lot of variety in what you can use. But I think the most important part is both adding the ingredients in and then really giving yourself permission to slow down and really savor them and increase the pleasure meal by meal as well.
You just shared about the slowing down, and part of what I saw in your book is this concept of slowing down when you come to the table and hold gratitude, what you call also a sacred pause. Is almost like you pause and come to the present moment, track your sensations as we were talking, and create this calmness versus like, you're working, you're doing 100 different things, and then you're shoving your mouth with the food, and completely being disconnected versus
Absolutely.
being one with your food and your body while you're doing what you call, mindful eating, and then kind of like mindful breathing, because the mindful breathing actually brings you into your body, into the present moment, where you could probably then capture the sensations.
Absolutely. It's amazing how just something that can remind you to pause and just for a second, it doesn't have to be a big ordeal. It doesn't have to take up time. It doesn't have to be out loud, but just a moment of just pausing, taking in the bounty of your food, savoring the pleasure of your food, slowing down your breathing. If you can focus your attention there, that will help to calm your brain, and that will help to bring you really back into your body. And all of these things can happen really automatically with a little practice. And I like to set the table in a way that feels inspiring to me. Most nights, that's something that I kind of like to do, because it's then when I go and sit down at the table, I instantly feel like a sense of relief, and I instantly feel a sense of joy and pleasure of just looking at the decor. And I don't mean anything complicated. I mean, just bare bones on a Wednesday night, just making sure you have like a little bit of space that is kind of calling you and that is making you feel joyful when you sit at the table. And that for me reminds me, even if I'm having the most simple meal, to just stop, take it in, pause, find some gratitude for anything, whether it be about the food itself, about your day. They've done a lot of research on young women who are recovering from disordered eating, and gratitude. They were writing they're writing gratitude letters each day. And those who participated in that study compared to the control were very much noted for having a healthier relationship with food much more easily and really accelerating their healing process just from a simple gratitude letter each day. And so whether you can do it at the table or you can do it in general in your life, somewhere that feels appropriate for you, these little acts, they sound small, but they have such a big impact that it's really a game changer when we really show up with our whole selves present.
Absolutely. I was thinking as you were sharing about the concept of the gratitude as it shows up and self-love. You have a section about self-love and self-care. And it's interesting because many people think of eating as self-care and self-help and self-love. And it is truly that. But if we're disconnected with our body, then we're not realizing that what we're eating, is it good for me or not? So, is it a self-destruction at this point under the name of self-love? Obviously, when, for me as a therapist who works with a lot of people where their best coping mechanism is eating, a pint of ice cream at 4:00 in the morning. Because they're anxious and they need to feed something to calm down their anxiety. But so it, in one way, is as if, okay, I'm taking care of myself because I'm calming down my anxiety, or a person who's feeling pain, but they want to distract themselves and feel pleasure through food, or vice versa, which is they withhold food from themselves in the name of, taking care of their body. So I think there's under the name of self-love, if we're disconnected with our body, just the, eating or not eating is not going to be the true concept of self-love. So self-love is the awareness of it, is being in tune with all the messages, is really getting to know your body when you're eating. So can you share a little bit about that? Because I know you have a couple of chapters just to how to take care of yourself with the food and your body.
Absolutely. I'll try to keep it succinct because this is a very passionate question. I love talking about this topic. And I think that really what I want to say first is that it's important to know that food is a regulation in the body. So if we're feeling dysregulated because of our days and their stress and the things we're going through, anxiety, various things like that, food is comforting. And there is no problem with that. It's just a reality. It's a fact. And we will notice a calming experience happen after eating food, which is what you're speaking to, like that people are using this as a way to cope with some of the harder things they're going through. Where it becomes problematic is that either we're eating to a level that is unhealthy. So we're basically overeating and our comfort eating has become really quite disordered. Or, of course, some of those out there who might be restricting and sort of getting some kind of feeling of power and control within our lives by restricting our eating, that can get out of balance as well. But it's important to know, I think that a lot of times every time we will hear about comfort eating and we'll automatically put it into a bad girl or bad category and create kind of a little bit of a shame and guilt type of situation with that. But in reality, like there is a really genuine comfort with food. And I don't see it as being a problem unless it's creating addiction, unless it's creating avoidance of what's actually going on. Like if someone's anxious about something going on at work and every day they come home from work and, as you mentioned, eat the pint of ice cream, that's probably going to start to have an impact on their overall body after some repetition. But also, are they starting to ever look at the stress at work as the root cause and work within repairing or attending to that aspect of their life so that they can keep their relationship to food in a healthy status? What happens so much is we tend to ignore the anxiety at work and solely use the ice cream as our way of managing it and never really get to the root of the problem or never really change the circumstances that are out of balance or are not working for us. So hopefully that answers your question. As far as the self-love piece goes, what I like to say is that our relationship to self and our relationship to food are inseparable. And when we can imagine loving ourselves in a way that includes the foods we're putting into our body and how we're doing so, it's a pretty big game changer. But we often use food as punishment. We often use food as ways of checking out. And when we start to do that habitually, then our relationship with food and our relationship with self starts to decline, and we might start to feel at odds with that. Self-love, in how I like to talk about it, deep in the inner world of what we have going on, is that we are tending to ourselves in a way that is compassionate and in a way that is present and in a way that is inquisitive. And we are sort of, changing our course of action based on what's going on within ourselves, that we're paying attention to those subtle cues and that we're not overriding our own innate wisdom day in and day out, taking us further and further out of our true center and leading us into behaviors that could be quite destructive. Yeah. So there's so much there within this conversation of self-love, because I also really wanted to go really to the root of what that is, instead of sort of what our society has often coined as self-love, which is very, once again, externalized. It's like spa treatments and pedicures and new boots, and all of those things are fantastic. And we can still be in a really challenging place with ourselves and go through the motions in those types of behaviors. So going deep inside and really tracking like what it is we need, what it is that we're yearning for, and how we can really take better care of ourselves on a physical level, on a mental level, and really on an emotional and spiritual level, then we start to be the governor of our world from the inside out. And that's a total game changer when it comes to like how we think and feel about ourselves.
Very much. Also, just to kind of wrap up a conversation, but a very important factor is also that your relationship with food and others is also inseparable in a way, until you create some boundaries. Because food, it's something that is a social concept for us, right? It isn't that we always have food in our isolation and just by ourselves. Food is one of those, any type of social setting that you go to, food is involved. Or celebrations, food is involved. So we want to go and, chit chat with a friend. We just don't sit there and just chit chat. There's always, let's go to a lunch, let's go to dinner. Or if they come into our house, we have, a selection of something, snacks or food available. So there's also this dependency or correlation that happens between who we are around and what kind of food our group, our community, our heritage, all of that is used to. And sometimes there needs to also be an awareness of what's out there that I'm part of and what my body, what's healthy for my body. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that distinction, that although we're interconnected and, related to all of that, but there is also an individual sense of how can I be with, all the people who are around me, the type of food that we eat, with our culture and everything. And yet, is it good for me or not? And I think that's also a distinction that needs to be made as I hear you and go through your book.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing to come together with friends and family and share food. That is one of my love languages. It is one of my favorite things to do. I love to host. I love to be with friends and go out and try new different kinds of foods and have family around. All of that is so pleasure inducing for me. But what I've really learned, and we've, had some of this going on in our very own family, is people need different things. And so for me, I might choose to plate my food one way, and my stepdaughter gets really sick from dairy, so we have to always make sure to have dairy-free options for her if we're even having something like a Caesar salad, or something that might have butter on it. So we've learned to really hold the space for her to take care of herself so that she doesn't experience any digestive distress, and to understand like who needs what as far as different ways in which that we might create sides and feature meal parts of the meal. But it's something that I think if we start to take responsibility for whatever is going on in our bodies, and we start to think of it as a way that we can just be having the pleasure with those we love and taking care of our basic needs, there's really so much agency we can gain within ourselves in doing that, in feeling like we have a voice, in feeling like we can advocate for ourselves. I've had so many clients over the years who have felt like a burden, or that they would rather just not say anything to the host about their allergy or what they're doing with their diet. And, it's incredible to just see how we have been conditioned to keep ourselves small, to not have needs, and to be just very flexible with what's before us. And while that's lovely, it's just not that workable for most of us if we're trying to really be sort of stewards of our own health. And so I believe there's a sweet spot in there that we can achieve by both self-advocating. Maybe even if we're going out to a friend's house, we could even bring something to add to the dinner that is going to be something that really works well for us, or we can call ahead to a restaurant and make sure they have what we need, what have you. And it can really up-level both the pleasure that we do have and also taking care of what's most important in our bodies.
And to everyone who's out there, if you do have a guest or a friend or someone who is in particularly wants to, eat a particular way, don't shame them about it. Oh, come on, you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan? Oh, come on. And then, people tend to like shame the other people for not wanting to drink, or wanting to drink a particular thing, or wanting to, eat a particular thing. And they'll go on debates about, why are you doing what you want? Well, it's like, back off, allow people to experience what's right for them, because you're not the one who pays the consequences. They're the one who pays the consequences inside. Absolutely.
Totally.
All right, everybody, Food and Freedom. That's the book you want to get. Discover Your Personal Recipe to Eat, Think, and Live Well by Sue and Raes. And this book also has a lot of exercises, not only has information, but a lot of amazing exercises. Sue, anything we haven't talked about that we really, really need to share?
Well, I just had something on the tip of my tongue, so I'm glad you asked. And that is kind of in response to our last little topic, but also going forward, that we can learn as individuals to eat to feel how we want to feel. And that gives us choice. And when we start to uncover what that is for us individually, then we have really received this important information that we can use to create how we feel going forward. So whether you're cooking for yourself, going to be a guest at someone's house, going out to dinner, whatever it is, knowing that what's coming when you eat this particular way, keeping your blood sugar stable, feeding your metabolism well, showing up and taking care of yourself, advocating for yourself, then you are going to not only be experiencing the results of that, which will be very positive, but also it's like we need people doing this to give others permission. And we need to know the ripple effect of healing this super important relationship with ourselves and with food, that we can contribute in a bigger way by just role modeling and kind of giving others permission to do the same for themselves.
Beautiful. Where can people find you?
So everything I do is found at bouldernutrition.com. I have a free giveaway there as well that you can grab if you want to get a little teaser of my work called Make Peace with Your Plate, 5 Daily Practices to Cultivate Food and Body Freedom. And then, of course, Food and Freedom, my new book, is available everywhere books are sold. And I would love to hear how it reads for you if you grab a copy.
Beautiful. Thank you for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much. It's been so good to be with you, Dr. Foojan.
For everyone who's out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Are you a psychotherapist looking to enhance your practice? The Awareness Integration Therapy developed by Dr. Foojan Zeine is a comprehensive guide to the principle and techniques of this powerful therapeutic approach. Join the growing community who have elevated their practice and expanded their skills by embracing Awareness Integration Therapy and witnessing its life-changing impact. Order your copy on Amazon now.